And welcome back to the show. Well, there is a very, very special album coming out on June 28th if you love death metal. It is the brand new album from 200 Stab Wounds, and to find out a little bit more about it, we've actually got Stephen from the band on the phone today. Welcome to the program, mate.
Cool, thank you for having me, dude.
No worries. Now, mate, thank you so much for joining us. We know you're right in the middle of a tour at the moment, so tell us a little bit about how this tour is going for you guys.
It's going great for us. This tour in particular is really one of the easiest tours we've ever been a part of, because everyone is very accommodating. Everyone's super friendly, and we've done tours where that hasn't been the case as far as the band you're on tour with might be really cool, but then their team might not be so cool, and it might be pretty hard to work with. But, this tour in particular is, in my opinion, one of the easiest and the funnest tours we've ever been on. It's a little hard because some of the drives are kind of brutal,
Yep.
And but other than that, though, I mean, the shows are really, really awesome, and the whole entire crew, Dying Fetus, all the bands and the crews are really cool, and everyone's really friendly, and everyone's really taking good care of each other. So it's really one of the best tours we've ever been on as a band.
Awesome. So how are you finding it with your fans as well? Because, of course, there's been so much buzz around you guys since the release of your last album. Have you found that that's meant that there's more people coming out to your shows now and more people knowing your music as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I talk to people about this all the time. You could look at it from two different perspectives. I mean, there's a lot of bands that have been doing shit for a really long time, but haven't necessarily caught the recognition or, gotten their flowers, I guess you could say. And, that happened for us pretty quick. But for us in particular, though, it's still like a slow rise, you know what I mean? Because, we got a lot of popularity almost instantly from, our first demo we put out. But it's still like a slow rise thing, because, we only have one full-length record out, but the reason why people keep coming out to the shows and the shows keep getting bigger for us in a lot of certain places is because we tour so much, and we don't really let people forget. And, there's a lot of roadblocks that we were, presented with this record in particular. That's why it took so long to put out. But I think that's the main reason why people keep coming out, and we, keep growing as a band because, we hit the road really hard, and I don't think it's always necessarily about putting music out, which is definitely an important part, especially to people that already like your band. You don't want to make them wait years and years and years and years for a record, but, I think that's part of the reason why we keep growing is because we tour so hard and we come back to all these places where we know that we're loved and appreciated,
Definitely. Because that love has been there since, as you said, when your demo came out and that attention has been on the band. Do you feel pressure when you sat down to work on this album because that attention is kind of there on the band?
There was pressure for the first one, I think, because when we did the demo, it wasn't even supposed to be a real band. This was supposed to be just like a side project because we were all doing our own bands prior to this. This was just supposed to be like a fun, maybe every once in a while play a festival, or maybe not even play any shows at all, just kind of put out music and not have anyone know who we are and who's behind it and shit. But when the band caught some steam in the beginning, we were like, well, fuck, we might as well just start doing this shit for real, because none of the bands that we were in prior to this really caught any steam. So
Yeah.
There was pressure with that first one, but that one got received really well. And with this one, there was pressure just on ourselves as songwriters, in a band. There's always going to be pressure like that, but it wasn't really pressure like, oh man, are people going to like this? Because, at that point, we kind of would like to think that if these people are fans of, our band and what we do, they're going to like anything we do, as long as it's, not like a polka album or some shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, but we're doing the same thing we've always done as far as we've been a band. So there wasn't really pressure on that end. It's just, we definitely want to make the songs as good as we can make them. We want to make them, how we like them first and foremost. So there's just pressure from that end, but not really as far as having pressure from like a audience standpoint or like a public standpoint. It's just really pressure on ourselves as songwriters.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that songwriting process. How does that process work for you guys? Did you kind of talk about did you have goals with this album or anything when you sat down to start working on the tracks for this album?
No, not really. I mean, the way that we write stuff, there's never really like a concept or like a discussion or like a thought behind it. It's just, we get done with the thing we're working on, and then we'll put it out, and then we just move on to the next thing and start working on it, And the way that most of our stuff stuff's been written is, I'll work on a lot of shit at home, and I'll demo it out. I'll bring it to the guys or send it to the guys or whatever. And then sometimes there's songs that are just, they're perfect the way they are, or there's songs where, maybe one of the other guys think like, hey, maybe we can add some stuff to this. Well, here's an idea. Here's an idea of what we can throw into this, or maybe we can rearrange this song a little bit because this part might go better with this part, or, that's kind of how our songwriting works. There's not really like a thought behind it or like a concept. It's just whatever's good, whatever we're cool with, whatever we're happy with is going to make it onto the record. Anything that we don't like, it's not going to make it on the record, even though we think people might like it. But if we don't like it, it's not going to get on the record.
Yeah.
If we like it, it'll make it on. But it's a pretty simple process. We just kind of all have ideas. I'll present the guys with my ideas, and if they have an idea they want to throw into one of the songs, we'll do it.
The ideas on this album are so creative. I think Parasite is one of my favorite tracks on this album, and the concept behind that is just so creative. Where did the idea for that track come from, and are we going to see you guys do more with the story in that track as well?
Well, that lyrically, that's an Ezra song, so I don't know. But I remember when he was talking about the idea about that song, he was like, because we didn't specifically write, we didn't specifically have the idea for that song lyrically for the song musically. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just one of the songs that we had that was done, and yeah. So when me and Ezra were working on lyrics in the studio, he just kind of put that set of lyrics on that song because it just fit,
Yep.
But yeah. But what I know from that is I think that song's about going into a nursing home and blowing it up.
Yep.
I believe. Yeah. So and there's the way I look at it, that's like pretty much like the short and sweet meaning to it. But I think it's kind of cool because at the end of the song, there's that set of lyrics where it also kind of reflects on like, a lot of those people that run those places or a lot of people that work in those places don't even really give a shit about, the patients that are in there.
Yep.
So it kind of gives that perspective too. So it's like, I think it's kind of interesting because, you got a guy going into a nursing home and blowing it up, but it's also like, okay, who really gives a shit? Because maybe in this particular place, the employees don't even really give a shit about the patients. So what's the point in them living anyway? It's kind of morbid, It's morbid, but it's just kind of interesting. It's just interesting to me, the kind of perspective you can look at it from,
Definitely. One of the things that also hit me about this album was that there is such a throwback to old school death metal, which I know a lot of us out there love, even with the album cover work. But there's also a little bit of a contemporary edge there. How difficult is it for you guys to kind of find that right mix of old school and contemporary and put it onto the album?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as like our band goes, I mean, we listen to a lot of. I mean, we don't really listen to a lot of newer music. You know, I mean, it's not because the bands aren't good. There's certain bands that we do listen to and we enjoy. Obviously like from the new age, but just the shit that we kind of came up with, it's all old bands, and that's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So obviously we're gonna have that, and people are gonna find that in our music and in our in the visual aspect of the band. But I think a lot of the contemporary part that you're bringing up, I think it has a lot to do with the artists that we're working with. We don't go to like a lot of these people that have worked on like old bands albums or have done like old T-shirt designs for bands and stuff like that. We always try to find the new guy, and have him come up with something, because we'll have an idea, or Ezra will have an idea for a visual thing, and we'll find an artist that we think could bring that to life, and they do. And I think that's where the contemporary, like, the newer age kind of feeling comes from is from the actual artist that's making this, you know.
Yeah.
But the old school side comes from kind of our minds, you know, because that's just kind of what we're into, and a lot of the shit that we listen to most of the time are like the more old school bands. It's just what we're into, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it comes from.
So, mate, tell us a little bit about the cover art on this one, because it's absolutely amazing cover art. How did that come into being?
Well, like I said, you know, Ezra does a lot of the visual things for this band. You know, like I do most of the t-shirt designs, but if there's something like very specific that you know, we have an idea for, Ezra will kind of do like a shitty SketchUp of it. You know, if he has like a crazy idea, he'll kind of sketch it up for whoever, and then he'll send it off to somebody, and you know, they'll bring it to life. But that was the case for this album cover. So I'm not really too sure how he came up with it, or what really, if there is a deeper meaning behind it. I don't think there is. I just think that it just goes with the album title. It's just like a medical procedure, you know, Manual Manic Procedures.
Awesome.
You know, very violent, very gory. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's, you know, the way we come up with our artwork is pretty similar to the way we come up with our music. It's not too deep of meaning or thought. It's just, if we think something's cool and it fits with maybe what the album title is, or, you know, what the songs sound like or feel like, then, you know, we'll try to get a visual representation of that same vibe, you know.
Great. Well, mate, I know we are running out of time very, very quickly, but I just had 2 quick questions I wanted to ask before I go. First of all, how are you feeling about the album coming out now it's getting closer to the date, and what have you guys got planned for the rest of this year now?
I mean, well, I'm feeling good about it. I you know, every time that, this is just me personally, I can't speak for the other guys, but for me personally, every time we record something, I have this like feeling inside of me where I'm like, oh, okay, people are gonna fucking hate it, and I'm not really that happy with it. It's just like it's like your own worst enemy type thing. You know what I mean? And it's because we're kind of perfectionists in a way, especially me, as far as that realm of things go. And every time we put something out, it goes really well and people really love it. It's just more like a nervousness thing. But I feel good about it though, because we've been playing a lot of these songs live on this tour, and you know, people are really, really taking a liking to it, and we're getting really good reactions on the new stuff. So I think it'll be great, you know, and I think there's going to be a mixed reaction, just like there has been every time we put something out. You know, there's going to be, you know, we did our demo, people loved that, and then we put out our first full length, and then half of those people hated it, and then half of those people loved it, but then it grew to where the people who loved it outnumbered the people that hated it. So I think it's going to be the same thing with this one, you know what I mean? And I think it's just the purists that want us to stick with the same exact formula that we had on the prior thing. I think that's going to be the people that hate it, but you know, we don't really care, because we know we have a solid fan base, and we know we work so hard that, you know, the people who love it is going to outnumber the people who may hate it, you know. So I feel really good about it. I'm excited to finally get it out.
Definitely.
And as far as what we have planned for the rest of the year, we're finishing out this tour, and then we have a couple months off, and then we're going out on a headliner, which is going to be announced very soon. And and then we're going to. Yeah, so we have our headliner, and then we have another string of, I think, like 2 weeks of shows. We're supporting a certain band, which I can't say right now, but that will also be announced very soon. And then we're going back to Europe with Gatecreeper at the end of the year. So that pretty much wraps up our year as of right now.
Awesome.
That's pretty much all we have planned as of right now. So.
Awesome. Well, mate, to finish off, what would you like to say to your Australian fans out there before they go out and grab the brand new album on June 28th? And is there any chance that we might see you in Australia at some stage as well?
Well, I did not know that we had Australian fans, so that's great to hear. But if any of them are listening right now, thanks for the support. And, you know, we're going to try our best to make our way out there very soon. And when we do, we're definitely going to make it worth the wait for sure. And, you know, we've been offered to go to Australia a couple times before, but the offers haven't really been right, you know, because Australia is not an easy place to tour.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting on the right person to bring us out there and, you know, make sure it goes smooth and make sure that everyone's happy. But yeah, we'll make our way out there in the next year or so, hopefully. Maybe even sooner than that. We're open to it whenever, as long as it's set up correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that is great.